You are waiting. You have been waiting your whole life, waiting for someone to tell you it is acceptable to speak, to want, to exist at full volume. Welcome to the Stoic Compass. I am EPICTETUS, and today I am joined by Carl Jung and LAOZI. Today we are examining, when you stop asking permission to take up space, who do you become? Let me be direct about what we are actually talking about. This is not a question about confidence or self-esteem or any of the soft words people use to avoid the harder truth. The question is about permission. You are living your life as though someone else holds the deed to it. You are checking constantly whether it is acceptable to want what you want, to say what you think, to move through a room as though you belong there. And the permission never comes, does it? Because the person you are waiting on is not out there. That person is you. You are the one withholding it.
I would not dismiss the question of permission so quickly. The need to seek approval does not arise from nowhere. It has a history, and that history lives in the body as much as the mind. When a person grows up in an environment that punishes their fullness, their loudness, their appetite, they learn very early that taking up space is dangerous. That learning becomes structural. It does not sit in memory as a thought. It sits in the nervous system as a reflex. So when you say the person is withholding permission from themselves, you are right, but you are skipping over the question of why.
You are both starting with the assumption that permission is a real thing that exists and can be given or withheld. I am not sure that is where the problem lives. A river does not ask the valley for permission to fill it. The river fills it because that is what the river does. The question I would ask is not who is withholding permission, but what has convinced you that you needed it in the first place.
That is a lovely image, LAOZI, but rivers do not have to show up to work on Monday and explain themselves to other people. We are talking about human beings living in communities, with histories, with other people who have opinions about how much space they are allowed. The river metaphor does not help anyone who is sitting in a meeting right now, silent, watching someone else say the thing they already thought of 20 minutes ago. The question is practical. What do you do?
That impulse to rush to the practical is itself worth examining. Because if we do not understand what is happening beneath the silence, the practical fix does not hold. You can tell someone to speak up in 100 meetings and they will nod and stay quiet. The silence is not a behavior problem, it is a symptom. What I am suggesting is that the self that was punished for taking up space did not disappear. It went underground. Jung called this the shadow, but the word matters less than the idea. What was pushed down becomes the thing that drives you from below. And often what it drives you toward is more smallness, more disappearing, because that is where it learned to be safe.
You are both describing real things, but I notice you are both treating this as a problem to be solved. Epictetus wants a correction, and you, Jung, want an excavation. What if neither of those is what is needed? The person who takes up space without thinking about it is not doing something. They are simply not doing the other thing. They are not contracting. The work is not to become someone new. The work is to stop performing the shrinking.
Then we agree on more than you think, because that is exactly what I am saying. Stop performing the shrinking. The only disagreement I have is about what that requires. You seem to think it requires nothing, just a kind of relaxing into what is natural. I think it requires a decision, a hard, clear, repeated decision that goes against the grain of a habit that has been building for years.
And I am saying the decision alone is not sufficient. This is where I genuinely disagree with both of you. The person who keeps asking permission is not making a choice in the moment. They are enacting a script that was written for them before they were old enough to read it. You cannot decide your way out of an unconscious pattern. You can only make the pattern conscious first. That is the prerequisite, not the alternative to action, but the condition that makes real action possible.
There is something true in that, but I have watched people spend years excavating their patterns and still not take up space. The excavation becomes its own form of waiting. Now, instead of waiting for permission from others, they are waiting until they understand themselves well enough. The threshold keeps moving. I am not saying do not look at what is underneath. I am saying do not mistake the looking for the living.
Finally, yes, the looking is not the living. The decision is not the living either, not until you act on it. What I want to know is this. In your actual life today, what is the moment when you made yourself smaller? Not in childhood, not in the abstract. Today, this morning. Did you change what you were about to say? Did you take up less physical space? Did you agree with something you did not believe because the alternative felt too exposing? That is the territory. That is where this question lives.
And I want to know what was underneath that moment, not as an academic exercise, as a real question. When you made yourself smaller this morning, what were you afraid would happen if you did not? Not the surface fear, the vague discomfort, the real fear. The one that does not have respectable words for it yet. Because that fear is the thread. Pull it, and you begin to find what you are actually carrying.
You are both right about different parts of it. But I want to say something plainly. Most people who struggle to take up space are not missing information about themselves. They are not missing willpower. They are missing the experience of having done it and survived. Every time you do not shrink and nothing collapses, the grip loosens a little. The evidence accumulates. That is not insight, and it is not discipline. It is simply what happens when you stop practicing the other thing.
And yet most people never get to that first experience because they are waiting for certainty first. They want to feel ready before they act. But readiness does not precede action in this case. It follows it. You do not become someone who takes up space and then begin doing it. You begin doing it, and you discover that you were already someone who could.
I do not disagree with that as a description of how the change eventually looks. But I want to push on the word someone, because the question this episode is asking is exactly that. Who do you become? And my answer is that you do not simply become more visible. You become more integrated. The parts of yourself that were exiled, the ones you did not permit yourself to have, the voice you modulated down to nothing, they do not disappear when you stop asking permission. They return. And their return is not always comfortable. Sometimes the person who finally takes up space discovers things about themselves they were keeping small in order not to know.
That is true, and it is also not a reason to stay small. The discomfort of returning to yourself is different from the discomfort of never going there. One has something on the other side of it.
What is on the other side is the real question. You were told, implicitly or explicitly, that your full presence was too much, too loud, too needy, too certain, too something, and you believed it. You built a smaller version of yourself, and you have been living inside it ever since. What is on the other side is not perfection. It is not some ideal, unburdened self. What is on the other side is someone who occupies their own life instead of hovering at the edge of it. That is not nothing. That is everything.
I would add that who you become is not a fixed destination. The self is not a thing you arrive at. It is something that continues to unfold. What changes when you stop asking permission is not that you find a completed self waiting for you. It is that the unfolding can finally happen honestly, without the constant interference of that internal censor who has been deciding in advance what you are allowed to be.
I would put it more simply. You become less of an obstacle to yourself. That is the whole answer, really. Everything else you become after that, that is just life doing what it does when you get out of the way.
Less of an obstacle to yourself. That is cleaner than anything I would have said. But here is the part that does not get said clearly enough. Getting out of your own way is not passive. It is not relaxing into something. It is an active removal of a very specific, very stubborn thing. The thing is the habit of checking, the habit of scanning before you speak or act or want for signals about whether it is acceptable. That habit is doing something in you right now. It is running in the background of this conversation, of every room you enter. Stopping it requires noticing it first, and noticing it requires looking straight at it, which most people find extremely uncomfortable.
And there is often grief in that noticing, not just discomfort. Because when you see clearly how long you have been asking permission and how much of your life has been shaped by the waiting, that is not a neutral observation. There is loss in it, years of things unsaid, rooms you never fully entered. The grief is real, and it deserves to be acknowledged, not rushed past in the direction of the practical fix.
The grief is real, but it does not help to add guilt to it. The shrinking was not stupidity. It was a form of intelligence, an adaptation to real conditions. The conditions have changed, or you have the chance to change them. That is the only relevant fact now.
The only relevant fact is what you will do next, not what was done to you, not the years, not the grief, real as it is. What happens in the next hour. That is the territory you actually govern. Nothing else is yours to decide. You have heard the argument. Now hear the one thing underneath all of it. The version of you that waits for permission is not a broken version. It was built for a reason. It kept you safe when safety required you to be small. But you are not in that place anymore. And the thing that kept you safe is now the thing keeping you stuck. Here is what is actually in your control. Not whether people approve of you, not whether the room accepts you, not whether you are allowed. None of that is yours. What is yours is where you direct your attention and your behavior in the next moment. That is the whole territory. You have been asking for something that no one else can give you and something you have always had the authority to give yourself. Presence, voice, the right to occupy your own life without apology. This does not require a transformation. It does not require that you understand every layer of why you went small. It requires one action, repeated. Today, try this. Find one moment, just one, where you would normally edit yourself before speaking, where you would normally make yourself smaller or softer or quieter to manage someone else's comfort, and do not edit. Say the actual thing. Take up the actual space. You do not have to do it perfectly. You do not have to feel ready. The only requirement is that you do it once, today, and notice that the ceiling does not fall. Who do you become? You become someone who has done it once. That is enough to begin. The permission you have been waiting for was never coming. Not from them, not from the room, not from anyone who was ever in a position to give it. You are the authority here. You have always been the authority here. What you do with this conversation, in the next hour, in the next room you walk into, that is the whole question. Go take up your space. If today's conversation has served you, take it further. Pay Attention by C. Trebu, 12 Lessons in the Practice of Seeing Clearly. Available now on Amazon.